Hi, I'm Becca and welcome to the Coffee and Books tag. I have kombucha, not coffee, but it'll have to do. This tag consists of 8 questions and I'll leave all of the info in the description for you, so let's get into them. Question 1 is Black Coffee, which is name a series that has hardcore fans and is tough to get into. And I've got here the Wheel of Time because I couldn't get into that series, but I see fans of it everywhere. So it immediately came to mind. Question 2 is called Peppermint Mocha, which is name a book that gets more popular during the more festive seasons or during a particular time of month. And for me, I'm going to go with Legends and Lattes because this popped up last year for the most part around Christmas time, and in Australia for me it's like the peak of summer at Christmas, but I know for a lot of people it is the middle of a cozy season where there's snow outside. This seemed perfect for that because it's a very cozy fantasy about an orc who doesn't want to kill anymore, takes all of her life savings and starts a coffee shop in a city where nobody knows what coffee is, and we follow her encountering new characters that she brings in on starting this journey with her. And I just loved it so much. It took me about 50 or so pages to get sequestered into the story, and I can't wait to reread this during a more cozy season, if you will. Not necessarily around Christmas for me, but maybe like mid-year when it's more autumn winter. I really want to reread this. It was so delightful. Question 3 is Hot Chocolate, which is name your favorite children's book, and I've got 3 here. So the first 2 are The Chronicles of Narnia and also Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, or the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series. I read both of these when I was a kid. I had Narnia read to me by my mum when I was just a little kid, and then when I was going to the library when I first started school, I was borrowing all the Percy Jackson books. So both of them are quite nostalgic for me, which is why they both came to mind immediately. But in terms of what I've got on my shelves now, I still own both of those series, but in terms of what I've got now that's a bit more new, I would go with Heartstopper because it is aimed, I think, at ages 8 to 11 or 8 plus, and so I feel like it counts as a children's book because it's got that kind of tone that's very light and the art style is very clear and accessible, but it also tackles themes of mental health and it discusses relationships and queerness and friendships in a very digestible way that I think is important to encounter when you're a lot younger as well. And I think if I'd read this as a teenager or even younger, it would have been one of my favorites back then as well. So Heartstopper is a definite hot chocolate read for me. I would read it as a kid, I would read it now, I would read it with a hot chocolate, with a coffee, whatever. Heartstopper is amazing. Question 4 is Double Shot Espresso, which is name a book that kept you on the edge of your seat from start to finish, and that would be Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo for me. This is the Ninth House sequel. It was just amazingly riveting and things were always happening in this book because there were so many different story facets being juggled that when you shifted from one into another, all of them were constantly progressing, and there were mini plot twists all along the way throughout the journey of this book, which I thoroughly enjoyed. So this was definitely a book that I had to make sure that I sat down and read in chunks because you can't just read a chapter and walk away. You've got to dedicate time to it because you don't want to stop reading it. And when I wasn't reading it because I had to get ready for bed, I was thinking about wanting to read it. So it's definitely a book that grabbed me and pulled me right into the story. Question 5 is Starbucks, which is name a book that you are seeing everywhere, and at the moment that's Samantha Shannon's newest release, which is the prequel to Priory of the Orange Tree called A Day of Fallen Night. Such mouthfuls, both of her titles, but this is a high fantasy story, and I started the audiobook initially and I realized that the audiobook was 39 hours long, and because I listen on double speed usually, it's still about 19 and a half hours long, which even on double speed is a really long time. And then I got sick and I'm still recovering, so I haven't had to commute to and from work, so there's not really been parts of my day where I can read it. So I have seen it everywhere and I haven't really been able to dedicate time to reading it, so it's kind of a constant circle of me feeling guilty because I genuinely want to start it soon. Another book, or I guess author, that I keep seeing everywhere and I would rather not see anywhere at all is Colleen Hoover. I just don't want to see her books. I don't like her work. It's all very toxic. I just don't like it. And TikTok has really brought her back, and I've got so much frustration over that because I thought she was finally done and now she's back and she's had a resurgence. So I don't want any of that. Question 6 is Hipster Coffee Shop, which is shout out an indie published book. And for me, that would be The Lost War, which is a book that I saw on Daniel Green's channel. And I've had it for a while and I've been meaning to read it. And I recently included it in a Read It or Unhaul It, Try a Chapter reading vlog. And I realized that I'm actually going to quite enjoy the tone that this is written in. And it follows a character that is the envoy of the king after this massive war has occurred, but there's still like demons causing havoc. There's like a ragged peace that's currently in place. It seems like politically there are embers afoot that someone is going to alight, and it's a very easy thing to set off. So it seems like there is something rotten, it says, in the state of Eden, and this character is charged with restoring an exiled foreign queen to her throne. Then question number 6 is, oops, I accidentally drank a decaf, and that means a book that you thought would be great but that was really underwhelming to you. And for me that would be The Black Hawks, which is a book that I thought would be incredible, very much filled with banter, quite energetic, but when I read it, it was kind of falling flat for me. There was the character that was supposed to be like the centerpiece, but then everything seemed to be happening around him that was more interesting, and I just couldn't connect with it. I felt like I wanted to connect with it because it had all of the pieces that I would love about a story, like a rogue found family in a sense. It had a political intrigue and plot to it as well. It was daring and it was grotesque in certain parts, but I was like, for some reason, I just don't like this book. It is dragging along. I don't care about the characters. And so I put it down at 80% because I was like, I'm going to like it. I'm going to like it. I don't like it. Wait, I realized I've read so much of it and I don't like it. Why am I still reading it? So I just put it down. And then finally, we've got question number 8, which is the perfect blend. Name a book or series that was both bitter and sweet, but ultimately satisfying. And I think I would say that Babel by R.F. Kuang was all of those things. Satisfying in a sense that it was horrendous and graphic in terms of its themes, but it was done so detailed and deliberately that you understood what was happening, why it was happening, and you could respect it for what it was doing. So I would say that yes, this was a great book and it would very much align with all of those things. It did have its sweeter moments as well. It had bits of banter in it, but the themes of colonialism didn't overtake the narrative in a sense. It made the characters look at all of these themes and interact with them. And that's what I really liked about it. So now that is the end of the book tag. I'm going to go and save the rest of my voice because I've been going in and out with getting better and this is the best I've felt so far. So I was like, I need to sit down and film videos. So let me know if you have a book that you're sitting down to read and drink a coffee with. I would love to know, but thank you so much for watching this video. I'll come chat to you down below in the comments and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.